Hello, fans, collectors, and investors. Welcome back to Iconic Baseball. I'm Iconic Al, and if you've recently subscribed to the channel, I want to say thank you and welcome. And if you are watching this and have not yet subscribed, I highly recommend that you do so down below. Today, I want to talk about some recent pickups that I've made for my PC, and also talk a little bit about the junk wax era in general. This is the era generally regarded between the years of 1985 and about 1993. A period which card companies were printing cards into oblivion, basically overproducing and overprinting cards, which really has hurt the long-term investability and value of those cards from those years. As a collector of all the greatest players of all time, I don't neglect any era of sports or baseball cards. I want to own the greatest that ever played, regardless of what era they came from or how overproduced the cards were. And I've recently made a few pickups from this junk wax era. And it made me think, what are the top 10 most iconic junk wax era cards in the baseball hobby? I narrowed it down to rookie cards and got some cards out of my collection from that period between about 85 and 93 and thought it might be fun to do a top 10 countdown of the most iconic junk wax era cards. So without any further ado, stay tuned for the top 10 junk wax cards of all time.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
All right, here we go. The top 10 most iconic junk wax baseball cards, in my opinion. We'll start with number 10 and number 9, which need to be presented together, and you'll see why. Number 10, the 90-leaf Sammy Sosa. Number 9, the 85 Topps Traded McGwire. Both of these are recent pickups for me, and part of the reason I wanted to do this video. As you probably remember from my Sosa and McGwire video I did a few months back, my brother and I were right in the prime of our baseball fandom back in '98, and anybody that was following baseball at that time remembers how exciting that home run chase was, and it just generated a lot of excitement around the game. And these two are nostalgic pieces for me, not necessarily investment pieces, but two cards that bring me a lot of joy, because I remember a time when you couldn't touch these cards. I mean, as a kid, lusting after a McGwire autograph or a McGwire rookie card, to have a McGwire autographed rookie card, I mean, this was almost a grail card for us back in 98, 99, 2000, when these guys were hitting 66 and 70 and 62 home runs a year. These guys were on top of the hobby and on top of the world, and they have since fallen from grace. And I think that actually offers a pretty unique buying opportunity for anyone that wants to get into McGwire and Sosa items, because they are quite cheap right now. And for me, it's, again, more of a nostalgic add to my collection. And these are both beautifully autographed in Sharpie. And they're pretty nice examples of the premier rookie cards of Sosa and McGwire. Prime junk wax. Beautiful signatures. They're not graded for the condition, but they're both strong examples of those cards. So I'm gonna put those at 10 and 9. Okay. Moving on to number 8, I would put the 92 Bowman Mike Piazza, which I think it's a classic pose. Just because these cards are overprinted, overproduced, doesn't mean they don't have eye appeal. Doesn't mean that these aren't historic and iconic players that matter in the history of baseball. Mike Piazza is the greatest power-hitting catcher of all time. And so this is a card that needs to be owned by anybody that really cares about historic players. And so this is a beautiful example of Mike Piazza's primary rookie card. He's got the Fleer update, which is a less mainstream, a little more valuable generally, but for my money, this is the classic pose of Mike Piazza in the crouch. All right, number 7. The 86 Topps Traded Bo Jackson. Yeah, it doesn't get much more iconic than this. I mean, Bo Jackson was the man. And this is a signed version, a signed copy of this card. Not graded, but it's a very nice signature. Probably would grade a 10 for the signature. Anyway. But just a classic, true rookie card of Bo Jackson with a nice autograph on it. Those that would say junk wax is not investable, I will say this. If someone told you you had $150 to invest for the long term in sports cards, would you rather own an autographed Bo Jackson rookie card or a Gavin Lux number 250 or a Luis Robert number 275? What do you think would hold up better at the same price point? That's the only point I'll make is junk wax is very cheap. Even signed copies of junk wax is very cheap. And so for me, it checks a lot of boxes. It's nostalgia, it's eye appeal, it's historic players that are not going to go out of style. Exhibit A right here, Bo Jackson. And, I think it's limited downside. So for me, I think it's fun. And that's what the hobby should be all about. All right, moving on. Number 6. I'm going to put this card up here. The 93 Topps, in this case, Topps Gold, Derrick Jeter. Now, this is not his most iconic rookie card. I would say the 93 SP would be the primary Derrick Jeter rookie card, but I don't have one of those. So I'm going to put this one up here instead. I will concede that the 93 SP is much more iconic, but I also think this card is very iconic. And if you're concerned about print runs, go after the Topps Gold, because that has much, much fewer on the popper pool versus the base Topps. But just a beautiful pose, Jeter in the throwing position. And that's number 6. Number 5. Again, this is a pretty cool one. One that I grew up loving, this card. The 91 Upper Deck Michael Jordan. Some will say, oh, that's not a rookie card. Others will say, oh yeah, sure, that's a rookie card. But it is the first mainstream MLB licensed card of him playing baseball. So I will say, for our purposes, we'll call it a Michael Jordan rookie card, baseball rookie card. But growing up, this was a card that was really one of the coolest cards I can remember from my childhood. And I just love having it. And it's Michael Jordan, so how could that not land on the list somewhere? All right, number 4. The greatest closer of all time. Mariano Rivera, 1992 Bowman. Undoubtedly one of the most iconic junk wax cards. His only rookie card. I mean, say what you will about the pose of him in street clothes, but I love it. I think it's great. He looks like he's about 12. It's kind of an odd card in some ways, but that's also what I like about it. It's very unique. Yeah. Really, when Bowman started to get into the early prospect game, and they didn't have players in uniform, but definitely iconic. Right. Number 3, the 86 Topps traded Barry Bonds. Again, overprinted, overproduced, but look at the eye appeal. And he's such an iconic figure. Love him, hate him, whatever you think about Barry Bonds. He was one of the greatest players that ever played the game, and this is one of the most iconic cards of Barry Bonds. That's number 3. Number 2. Now we're getting to cards from my childhood that were the chase cards. These were the cards everyone was after in the hobby. Frank Thomas 90 Leaf. Did it get any more iconic than Frank Thomas 90 Leaf? Well, it did. There was one card that was more iconic than the Frank Thomas 90 Leaf. It was the 89 Upper Deck Griffey. These two cards really drove the hobby around 91 during the height of the mania. And I remember those two cards were just the ones that everyone was after. And they're both quite attainable to this day. I mean, this card is not expensive. They're very attainable. And for me, just from nostalgia, they're great to have. Not even in 10s, but in 9s. They look beautiful. They remind me of a simpler time in the hobby, back when I was following both players. And they're both Hall of Famers now. And they're both considered among the best to ever play. So that's pretty cool too. but they both have that legacy attached. So that's my rundown. Just my personal opinion of the top 10 most iconic junk wax baseball cards in my collection. Thank you again for watching. Remember to subscribe for more iconic baseball content. And until next time, keep collecting and stay iconic.